Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Stool podcast, a podcast for woodworkers and the maker community in general. This is episode number 19. My name is Robin Lewis from robinlewismakes.com. I'm joined by Joey Chalk from King Post Timberworks.
Hello.
And John Crawford from Periodic Furniture Studio.
Hello.
We live stream the recording on YouTube every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, or UTC plus 10, or you can watch or listen to it later on YouTube, iTunes, or SoundCloud. Just a quick note there, next week we will be going back to Thursdays for all of you joining us in the chat. Speaking of the chat, I want to say hello to everyone. We'll get to your comments towards the end of the show, but feel free to chat amongst yourselves, the idea being that this is also a place for people to meet. So before we get started, I've just got one quick announcement.
He's gone.
Yes. All right.
We can talk amongst yourself, people.
Yeah. How's the weather?
Oh, jeez.
That's for Joey reaching 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That's pretty good going.
You went out of your way to buy party poppers. That is awesome.
Is that more celebration than you had for yourself, Joey?
Jordan, I wanted to get you in on it as well. And I was like, if we could both do it, that'd be amazing. But then I thought with you being away, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, I could have probably gone out today. That's a shame.
But yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Crazy. Oh man,
Yeah.
I saw it was getting close.
Yeah.
I had to go out to the airport, pick up my brother. He came in at like midnight. And so I'm sitting there watching waiting for the plane to come in. It was delayed. So sitting there watching the numbers tick up and sitting there with my old man. I said, I bet they don't come out until it reaches 100,000. And so we waited for 2 hours waiting for him. And then 30 seconds after it ticked over, they walk out the doors and off we went. So it's crazy.
That's beautiful.
I'm really excited to see what the process is now, because I've seen all these people who you'll get now a plaque in the mail.
Well, that's what I'm a little bit worried about. I actually went on my YouTube account because I thought, man, did I ever enter an address when I'm filling out any forms?
Sure,
God knows what the address was 4 years ago.
And you would have for the billing purposes of your AdSense.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm not sure if they're just going to send it to some random address, which I don't even know where it is or how to change it. So we'll see what happens.
And you didn't get any message or notification from YouTube to say like, well done, or
let me check my Gmail.
Yeah, because I would have thought you would have got some kind of an email at least for them to say like.
From what I've seen on from other guys, they don't get their the plaques for like months afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, nothing. Nothing on Gmail.
Well, it's the bar has been set, Jordan. We need to sort ourselves out and
I don't even know if I've gone over 8,000. I was getting close, but it doesn't sound as impressive as 100,000.
Well, you were at 60 something. Don't forget.
I mean, yeah, that's my main channel, but
yeah, you basically made a career.
You deleted that channel.
It's still there, but it's just not very active. Look, I do. I have 8,001 subscribers on my new one.
Right.
Look at that. Yes, I'm not adding to it, or if I do, only a technical video, like a how-to, if I'm doing something cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, good on you, Joe.
That's really cool. It's a bit strange, but it doesn't feel any different, to be honest. It's just a number.
Just another day. All right. So one other thing, we now have a location set for the Maker meetup in May the 5th. So it's going to be, there's a place in South Brisbane. I'll have details in the show notes below. It's called the Fox Hotel. It's going to be on the Saturday, probably around 4:35-ish. We'll meet up there, and it'll just be a couple of hours. We'll see how the night goes. But at this stage, that's where it's going to be. We obviously want to see as many of you guys there as possible. If you need more information, feel free to get in touch with some of us. But that's where it's going to be, 5th of May, the Fox Hotel. Come say hi to us.
Yep. Will be fun.
So, Joey, what have you been working on this week?
Okay, I have pretty much finished off this other kitchen that I'm not sure if I even talked about it. But yeah, had a kitchen to do.
Not the kitchen, is it?
Not the kitchen. Had another one straight after that. So pretty much I'm going to install that tomorrow morning. And to be honest, my head has been way not in that job. And so I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I'm not 100% sure that I've crossed all my T's and dotted I's and things. So we'll soon find out at about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
So you've built all the carcasses, everything.
Yeah, everything's sitting there ready, and I've actually done the bench tops on this one as well. And that's what the kitchen island was that I made, which is my last video. That I just made that. I kind of made both at the same time, but it focused more on the island. Because they've got nothing at the moment, so I thought get them something to work on. So they've had that for a week or whatever it's been.
Oh, and they're living in the house with no kitchen.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of it's half renovated, so they had ripped it out. They had a temporary sink set up, and they were polishing the floors and painting walls and things. So.
Oh, sorry. So it's not a new build.
No.
Oh, okay, right.
Anyway, so that's going in tomorrow, and the thing that's been taking my brain power has been this extension table that I've been working on. It's oak, all oak, and it's got cherry breadboard ends on it. And nice. I've made something like this before, very similar. The mechanism, anyway. I've made the mechanism before, and so I learned some lessons last time, and so I think I've helped myself. At the moment, I've just finished the glue up, and I came home as I was driving home from the glue up, I kind of suddenly thought, oh my God, I made a mistake. And it's too difficult to explain what it is now, but it's about a 2 or 3 millimeter, possibly a 3 millimeter mistake. And I'll find out tomorrow morning when I take the clamps off. If it actually slides, then it's good. If it doesn't slide, then I did make a 3 millimeter mistake, and it's going to be jammed shut. So that is no good.
So with that table, your insert leaf solid wood as well?
Yes.
And is it what do they call it? You know, where it's hinged and it flips around and up, or is it just a storage?
No, I keep the leaf. I hang rails under the table, and the spare leaf sits under the table. So
it has a little cavity.
Yeah, just like 3 little sticks that the leaf sits on. Mm-hmm. So you pull the table apart and pull out the leaf, turn it 90 degrees, and set it in place.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying it's not hinged?
No, it's not a butterfly top. So it's a separate leaf. So in the old days, the leaf would be stored in a cupboard or something, and you'd extend your table and go to the broom cupboard, pick out the leaf and put it in place.
But then what locks it in there once you put it in? Because doesn't it just it could just slide off?
I put dominoes in.
Got like pins to stop it from sliding.
Okay, yeah.
In the olden times, you'd use like a brass little bit of dowel or just a nail, anything, like a dowel or something. I'll just make up some oak dominoes and use them as the locking pins so it doesn't just slide out.
Yeah.
The way I make my extension is that the actual rails of the table are big, long sliding dovetails in them. And so the rails just kind of telescope rather than doing one of the other many ways to do it.
So are you concerned with the insert like bowing and not fitting flat with the remaining top, or is that?
So what I'm doing is having the long grain is going across the table.
Okay, right.
And so all 3 panels will have breadboard ends.
Keeping it flat.
So the only possible issue is that if there's a lot of expansion outwards, the middle of the panels will be touching, but there'll be a gap at the breadboards.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So in theory, you could have like a 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter gap
either side
where the breadboards meet on the edge of the table. But, it's going into a new home. It's going to be pretty dry, so I'm not too worried.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's taking my brain power. What else? That's probably about it. That's worth talking about.
Cool.
So it sounds then like you may have a few projects on the go at once.
Yes.
That might tie in later.
Oh, king of segues.
So Jordan, you've obviously been on the road. Do you want to give us an update of where it is and how close you are to just throwing it all away?
Oh, I am so close. So yeah, today is I'm in Wollongong now, so we have our last show tomorrow, and then I'm home on Wednesday night after doing all of the gear drop-offs and all of that annoying stuff which has to happen at the end of the tour. But yeah, it's been a hell of a week, so I haven't stopped traveling. I haven't had any sleep. It's been terrible venues with no loading docks, and basically my body is broken. My what's the word I'm looking for? My mental, my soul is gone, and my mental state is just cloudy because I haven't had a solid rest.
How long is the show?
Too long. No. The show itself is about 2 hours, but we do two a night, so it's like I'm getting into the venue at lunchtime and have to be set up by like 5 o'clock so we can do sound checks. And then we do a show, and then we have like 40 minutes, and then we do another show, and then we bump out the show. And in these venues I have been playing, it's been like either up a single person elevator, so it can only fit 1 or 2 road cases at a time, or it's up a massive flight of stairs and
who books this
through a corridor and out. Not having many praise at this stage from anyone. But yeah, it's just been like, the rooms are good, the crowds are good, and they're getting a good show. It's just as far as it goes for us being the tech guys, it's a word I won't say on a live broadcast, but it's fair enough. Yeah, it's a little bit stupid.
So tomorrow's your last one. Is that tomorrow night?
Yeah, so tomorrow I leave here and I'll do the same process I just said, but I think it's in an actual theatre tomorrow, and it's in Camden. So that's like maybe an hour away from where we are now. So at least I get a bit of a late checkout, and we'll drive down, set up, and then it's finally done. So it feels like it's been forever.
And then you fly back home. You don't drive back.
Yeah, so I fly back to Perth on Wednesday night, and on Thursday morning I have to go and pick up all this crap I bought while away for a few projects.
All right, that'll be exciting though. This should be back to something more enjoyable than.
Still there. I've been like phoned about 4 times by these guys. They're like, "Are you coming to pick it up?"
Was it materials or machines?
Bit of both. So I've got a mortiser attachment coming for the big, what are we saying, 10-seater tables that I'm doing.
Right.
And I've got all the stock for them as well.
Cool.
And then some secondhand crap because I am very killing a lot of time on Gumtree at the moment.
I must say, you guys seem to have a decent selection of secondhand machinery. We just have nothing that's worth it.
The one thing I have been doing, because I'm in all these weird towns, and this is actually a good thing to talk about, so it relates to woodworking, is like going to all these secondhand machinery shops or antique shops and just like seeing what they have, because there's a chance to get a bargain. And where I think it was Taree, which was an interesting tech shop just on the main strip, and I walked in, and in there was a proper tool chest, a cabinet maker's, a joinery, so door and all that sort of maker's tool chest with every single wooden plane with every cove, profile, OGs, beading bits. He had number 7 planes. He had all the chisels, the ripping saws, and the crosscut saws, like complete set.
Holy crap.
Everything had everything it needed. So all the blades were there, all of the jam, whatever they're called, everything was there. Nothing was missing pieces. And he wanted $2,500 for it, which I felt was really fair for a complete toolkit like that. And I was so close to just saying, "I'll stuff it. I'll get it because it's an investment." But I kind of regret not doing it now. It was just awesome.
Did you happen to see the if the wooden planes were insect damaged, or did they look all right?
They were all used. Some of them had like the hardwood, when you skim the bottom out and you put a new piece of wood on.
Right.
Some of them had that on
So-
it, but most of them were plenty of iron left on it too. So
Jeez.
could have been a cool thing to get.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I still I've got his business card and I can still call him and just put it on a courier truck one day if he's still got it. But he also had this. It was an ebony and brass smoothing plane from somewhere in England. I didn't catch the brand, but it was $7,500.
Jeez.
So he had some good stuff.
I do think it's also where you are. Like up here in Townsville, being a smaller city, there's not that much available, and you've certainly got to drive for it. But
Yeah.
I know one of the other YouTube woodworkers, Colin Blackbyron, he picked up a panel, I think it was a panel saw. I think it had a sliding arm for like next to nothing on one of these auction sites down in Adelaide.
Right.
So I'm guessing, Sydney, Melbourne, that's where you'll find all the stuff. But I've found up here, it's not that much available. And I look almost every day.
Yeah, I have a radius I have. So I'll go 250 kilometer radius around wherever I'm searching. And I'll, I'm willing to drive if the price is right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been cool.
Robin, what have you been doing?
There we go. I'm back. Sorry, just replying to Ben in the chat. So I finished my the bassinet crib.
Right. Yes.
Thing. Yeah, super happy with how it turned out. One little thing. So did you guys, Jordan? I'm guessing you haven't, but Joe, you watched the video, right?
Yep.
The one thing that I'm still not particularly happy about and this will make sense to anyone who's watched the video, the rod that stops the thing from swinging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like it was a bit of it was the best solution I could come up with, but it's okay. The rest of it though, so happy with how it came out. Considering that wood was so soft and some of it was pretty twisted as well, the feel of that wood is just, because it's oil, so there's no film finish.
It's just
it's just
silky.
It's so nice to touch. It's so nice.
So that big long pin, that rod you've got, can you not just have a small one at each end?
So that was my original idea, but then halfway through, I decided to make those extra, what I called washers, that added some more strength to the 25 mil dowel, right? Now, because of that gap, if you try and put it through there, that's too much play. Now, what I could do, and this is what I might do in the future,
is brass.
Yeah, something maybe a bit more solid would work, but eventually that dowel hole through the leg, it's going to wear that away eventually. So what I could do is, I think if you have 3 points of contact, then it won't be so bad. So on that piece of MDF underneath, if I was to screw something in with another hole, so it basically goes through the leg, through the frame, and then into another piece, your pin will only need to be that long. Right. Because you've now got those 3 points of contact, I think it might work better. So I could do that in the future. That's an idea. As Ian says, maybe 2 brass shorter rods. That could work. But I'm not going to worry about making that type of adjustment yet, because it's all going to depend on how we use it. When
you might
Bubs,
end up just wanting it locked all the time.
Exactly.
Just put a screw in it.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not too. I'll get to that later. And who knows? Maybe Bubs isn't going to want to sleep in the thing at all.
That's right.
So we'll
that can happen.
Yeah, I'll get to that when we do. But just the overall, that was the first time I've done dowel joinery on the frame. I've never had good luck with that, and this was the first time that I actually said, no, I'm going to put some time in and actually make it work, and it turned out cool. That rail, that through tenon, minus a couple of small details here and there, super tight fit. That is rock solid. So happy with how that turned out. So
I'm not sure if you showed it or if I missed it. That through tenon stuck past the vertical.
Yeah.
Did you leave the end of the tenon square, or did you chamfer it off?
So I pillared it a bit with
Right.
just with some sandpaper.
Yeah.
But on one of them, on the one edge, this was one of the problems I was talking about. When I was cutting it off, because I'm used to it just being a would you call it a stop tenon where you can't see it on the other end?
Yeah.
I just went straight in and cut off the shoulder without thinking.
Right.
And so when it came through, I was like, oh, it just looks a bit average.
Rough.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, as soon as then I rounded over those edges, it sort of disguised it a little bit. But yeah, the only thing I was a bit unsure about, maybe you guys can clarify this. Should I have like pinned that tenon or wedged it or something? Or because essentially now I've got a glue joint where the fibers are crossed like that. Is that a strong enough joint?
Personally, with that tenon being as tight as it was, I mean, there's no racking movement in it. There's no sloppiness. If there was sloppiness, that's when you kind of key it home with, I would say, a dowel or something. But I mean, in that case, for what it is, I think it's probably fine, unless you wanted to also add decoration and use another colored dowel or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, having not seen it, I don't really know what you're referring to, but I'm assuming, I'm going to watch it tonight, don't worry, but I'm assuming it's like the stretch between the two uprights that is tenon to. Yeah, okay, so I think it's pretty strong, because if you know my sawhorses I use, the tall ones, with real, like the narrow skinny ones, I have the same construction on that. Same construction on that, and I put 100-kilo slabs on that all the time, and I can push them around and drag it. And I had one fail, but that was just dragging it from one arm with weight on top of it. So it's pretty damn
beating it up, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't.
I must say that I don't think you showed putting wheels on the whole thing. But when I saw that at the end, I was like, man, that is genius. Assuming that you've got nice smooth floors like that through your house. So being able to like put Bubs to sleep in the lounge or whatever, and then just shoot him off into the other room, and he doesn't know anything's happened. Like that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah,
that try and handle the kid out, and then you wake them up, and then cool.
Cheers. Yeah, no, that was sort of the idea, was that it's a co-sleeper at night when me and the wife are sleeping. But then while we're in the lounge, let's say if we want to be watching TV, we could still have the baby with us. Yeah. In a normal cot or crib configuration. So
it's a good multi-use thing. It's pretty interesting. It'd be interesting to see how it works practically. Day to day.
Yeah, and this baby better enjoy it, because if this baby doesn't like it,
they don't appreciate anything.
I think a Labrador would appreciate that, surely.
All right, so let's get into tonight's topic. I'm just bringing it up here. So tonight we're going to talk about how we organize and stay on top of multiple projects at one time. So it's basically how we find time for each project when another one is trying to take time off us, which is what Joey was talking about earlier. And I would like to possibly get into how we manage that, what you could consider downtime, which is something's, we've got a bit of a lull. You could be making the most of that time doing something else. So I guess, Joey, I might hand this off to you.
Sure, I'll give some initial thoughts and then probably end up coming back around. So I actually mentioned this topic last week or something off air with the guys, because initially I wanted some brainstorming from the guys to help me with dealing with multiple client jobs coming in. And mainly the issue there was, how do I deal with keeping track of the gazillion things I need to do in the office side of it. And so maybe we could talk about that later as well. But so if we go to the job part, so I almost always have got 2 jobs on. So for me, it's I find most jobs take 1 or 2 days of 100% kind of mental power on that job to get crucial cuts done, and all that crucial parts that you really need to be concentrating on. And so once you're there, it's a matter of either finishing pieces off sanding or starting to get prep for finish, things like that. And so that's when you can start another job, because all you really need to do is, so for example, let's say you have a dining table to do, you could get it to the stage where you could finish sanding some of the parts. That is can be slow and boring. And your next job, let's say your next job is another table. Before you start sanding the first one, you go and dress and glue up the top for the other one. And while that's gluing, you can just go back for 2 hours and be sanding. And it's 100% useful time management. So that's kind of the topic at its core, I suppose. There's lots of different little finicky bits about that, but
yeah.
So in terms of managing the customers, do you see managing the different projects coming in? Do you see that different to when the projects are in your workshop, so to speak? I mean, is there a difference between managing the clients to managing the different projects, or is it all just the same?
Once I have a job deposit paid for and I put the job up on the board as this is the next job in the queue, I pretty much don't think about it. I don't have to do anything. I know exactly what I'm going to make. I know roughly when I'm going to be wanting to buy materials for it, and so I don't have to think about it at all, really. That I kind of there's nothing to do, but it's
but this is a job that's in the future somewhere, or it's current?
So it'll be in the queue. Say maybe I've got 4 jobs and it goes in at number 5.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you meant like you were starting work on it, but it was still in the queue.
No.
This is establishing.
So what I find is very difficult is dealing with all the client inquiries and, can you come and do this measure up? Because we really want you to do the work, and we used you 4 years ago and we want you to come and build us another bookcase. Case in point, this is meant to be happening this week. And I'm like, okay, I don't really work like that anymore. Let's get a price to you before I spend the whole day traveling to you. Oh no, we're pretty sure that we're going to use you because you did such a good job last time.
Yeah, don't you know? Pretty sure it's pay bills these days.
Yeah, you need to come and measure up so then you can. And I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can work out another way to. Maybe I can do 3 or 4 different kind of errands on the same trip, and so that's one way I help to deal with having a day off. And so if I don't get the job, at least I've picked something up or something else. But I get a lot of it's very hard to be specific because I don't want to talk about specific clients,
obviously not,
there's lots of can you do this for me, can you do this for me, when am I going to get my quote? I'm like, I know I need to do all these things, but which order I put them in and how do I remember to do them sometimes is very difficult. Especially when you're in a job and you've got your head 100% in it. You get a phone call that says, oh, can you call me back later? I want a dining suite made from you. I'm like, oh, great, that'd be great. Hang up the phone, carry on working, and then 3 days later, you wake up in the middle of the night. You're like, oh my God.
Jump out of bed.
This that client. I just probably lost a job. So it's very difficult to be a one-man band in that sense.
Do you find that you actually stick to your list? So you talked about it's just about adding stuff to the queue. Do you actually generally stick with that queue, or is stuff constantly in motion?
It's just about locked in all the time because that's the order. I do jobs based on how the deposits come in. So often I'm quoting on multiple jobs and even sending people deposit invoices. And they might go out in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the payments will come in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's the order they get made in.
Yeah.
Even if that first client, I've been dealing with them for 6 months trying to get the job sorted, and they're, being a bit slow about getting back to me or whatever. Just because I've been dealing with them longer doesn't mean they get to automatically get me next. It's who pays me first. And so once that job, sorry.
No, sorry, you continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say, once that money comes in, that's their place, they're next in line.
Right.
And that's it.
So, I mean, my question would be, is there exceptions to that rule? So say if you've got 3 customers lined up, all the deposits come in around the same time, but if someone has a deadline that is sooner than the other, do you still shuffle things around if it works for everyone?
Yeah, I will do that in that case. If there's a situation, that actually tends to happen fairly often where...
that's what happens with me a lot.
Yeah, if you come in and you say, right, that's almost my first question these days is, when do you need it by? And if it's reasonable time frame, I'm like, okay, I can shuffle you here. This client actually isn't going to be ready for another month because they're still roofing their house, and so I can shuffle you before them. And and that as well takes up a crap load of brain power, because you're mentally juggling your list around, but I don't always physically change the list on whatever list I happen to have, and it kind of compounds because you make one little mental change, switching 2 jobs around, and then the next day you've got to make another change, and you're still remembering the other change, and they get bigger and bigger, and at some point I'm just like, right, I can't think, I've got to just rewrite everything out, which I should be doing every day, but I don't seem to have any motivation to actually sit and write that list out in the right order. So,
John, you've got Ellen helping you with the business, don't you?
No, not really. So I have my sister helps out a little bit at this stage, and I'm about to get someone in just for once a week, casual, just to do little things here and there for me. But no, currently it's just me. And
that's what I was sort of going to ask. Is this the type of job that an assistant can do, or is it? Not because it's Jordan is the man who's doing the work, therefore it's all in Jordan's head.
No, I want to be the maker, not the kind of businessy brain behind the operation, but I'm forced to be both. So, I mean, for me, I think my time is best spent making or designing items, not so much going into keeping track of where clients are at with payments, where clients are at with quotes, or anything like that. But if I'm not following up on these things quite constantly, then I run the risk of either losing a client or not knowing that there's been a change to what they require and all that sort of stuff. So it does spread you pretty thin at times, trying to stay on top of everything. But at the same time, I'm starting to notice that I've got this kind of internal monologue about what has to be done. And by when. Now, it's not necessarily on paper, but I have like a mental deadline for this base has to be assembled so the top can go on and it's not sitting out of finish for too long, risking that it's going to warp and blah, blah, blah. So I do have it kind of itemized, but it's just a mental kind of itemization of what needs to happen. But what does happen is that only really applies to the build, not anything that's important for the actual business itself to grow. So I don't have that with like following up on invoices or making sure that accounts are settled and all that sort of stuff, which is terrible. But my accounting software is pretty good at least sending me reminders.
So Ben over in the chat, you guys will get to meet Ben in May. He's coming down to the Maker meetup. He's talked about using Trello for lists. Now, I used to use Trello. It's basically like an organizational type of website where you can write lists, reorganize it, do all that. I used to use it for my day job. The problem comes in, though, is that you've now just added more overhead on what you need to do. And if you aren't religiously checking that, that just turns into another sort of point of fail. So
I'd agree with that.
All your eggs into that basket, then if something goes wrong there, then that falls over. And that's not to say that it's a bad thing, because I used it for probably about a year and it was fantastic. but at some point I drifted away from it, and then that was it. Its value was gone.
Is that like a project management software, or is it just a list software?
Well, let's call it project management on a very broad spectrum.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I do have my favorite method for keeping track is I've got 2 whiteboards in my office, and on one whiteboard it's like what has to happen and kind of in which order I want it to happen if I have multiple things on the go. Yeah. And on the other it's personal or not personal, but not project related things. So if I have to update my website, if I have to do follow-up emails and all that sort of stuff, I will put a note on there. But the issue with that, of course, is you have to look at it. And I don't always look at it every day because I'll open the door and I'll get straight into a project and it's 4:00 before I even sit in the office. Yeah. So, it's downfalls to it, but it does work for me sometimes.
Joey, do you think you would benefit from having someone like that? Cuffy's just talked about every furniture maker, woodworker has been married. It's been a married couple, so basically it's the husband and wife. Because I know your partner, she's involved anyway. Would that help if she was taking care of that side of it, or is it not something she can do? Do you need another woodworker in the business to go out and do the measurements and take the quotes and do all of that?
I think, how do you say this? I need to be the one.
Friends here.
I need to be the one to do the site visits because you often need to make kind of split decisions about how something needs to be made right on the spot, because you can see that there's going to be a problem if you go down one track or the other. And also, when it comes to say a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 bookcase that's got to fit between 2 walls, I want to be the guy who made that measurement to make it the right width. Because if someone made an awesome 100 mil mistake and wrote down the wrong number, and it's too big or too small, then not much fun.
So that comes because surely at some point, as an entrepreneur, you want your business to grow. So at some point, you don't think so. You never want to let go of those reins ever.
I don't want my business to grow, and it's probably a very strange point of view, but that's I talk about this a bit in the article I wrote about running a business. That every business school is going to tell you the point of business is to increase turnover and make the shareholders happier.
Yes, I remember this bit in that. Yeah,
make your shareholders happy that their investment is growing. The problem is exactly this: is that you get to a point where you stop becoming the furniture maker and you start becoming a businessman, and that's not what I want to do. I've had a business before. When I was building, I had 4 full-time employees, and I didn't pick up a hammer for months. I was just stuck in the office organizing stuff and quoting. That is not fun, and it's you're not a maker anymore. You're a businessman, and so my goal is to keep my business as best as possible, the size it is, with the same amount of work coming in. And maintain my income. I don't want to earn gazillions of dollars. If you do want to earn gazillions of dollars, stop being a woodworker. That's not how it works. And so it's a matter of managing, or I'm constantly trying to manage or increase the efficiency, I suppose, which is this whole topic about can I make my day smoother and kind of decrease the stress, whatever stress there is about keeping track of these things. And I probably should somehow sit down and write some kind of system process for dealing with this, but I still haven't come up with something that works.
Yeah, because that's a real tricky one. If you want to wear all the hats, and you're not willing to give up any of that responsibility, you can't. I mean, there's no way that you can foresee these awkward or tricky situations coming up.
It's not about not willing. It's not that I'm not willing to give it up. I probably would give up, and I do. I have my employee and my assistant who works, 4 hours a day for me, and that took a bit to just give him a job, and I pretty much not touch it. That's tough to watch someone doing something that you wouldn't necessarily do it that way, but you can't say anything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I do, but try not to. I forgot where I was going with this. So about not letting
go. Yeah,
I would. It's not that I want to be 100% in control. It's that at the end of the day, I'm the one who's got to quote a job. I'm the one who's putting in money and monetary value on it. And so if I see somebody working, dragging their feet, spending way too much time on a process that I know should only take 2 minutes, it's just like money signs falling in the gutter. It's just I'm losing money. This shouldn't take this long. And so there's got to be you can't just hand over a job to someone who's not capable. The problem there, certainly here, is that I can't just fire someone. I'm not sure what it's like in the rest of the world. But once you employ somebody, it's very difficult. Even if they're doing a terrible job, you can't just sack them.
I think, I think that's probably a very similar mentality to what I have with running the business side of things. But I think the thing that I like to keep on. God, sorry, I cannot speak today. I'm very tired. The thing I am trying to keep aware of is that me as the business owner, my time should be worth a certain amount. And if it's a task that can be handed off to someone else, then and they can do it better but also cheaper than you can. So they might charge $22 an hour to come and do your books, and it takes them an hour and a half, and it would have taken you 3 hours, and you should be making $46 an hour minimum. It makes sense for the business to say, well, we'll hire this person to do this, but it's not really got anything to do with the actual business product product or service. It's just the internal running of business items, which I feel that has to be applied to. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. Okay, cool.
It's a really interesting distinction here, because what we're sort of saying is, doing the accounting, that side of thing, that's fine. Hand it off to someone else. But when it comes down to the real, what's the word where the rubber hits the road, nuts and bolts, that's where you as the craftsman have to be involved. But that's where you as the craftsman are taking on far too much responsibility. So what do you do?
Yeah.
So in my case, I've got my employee, I will generally I give him the jobs which are simpler and can be done, pretty easily. So Monday morning, come in and say, this is a job. You've got these 3 sheets of plywood. You need to make up these boxes. This is the size they need to be. This is how I'd do it. I'd cut this piece first and this piece, and then you could screw the back on this way. Yep, that sounds like a plan. And generally I'll say, by the end of the day, or by the end of your day, we want to be at this point. So tomorrow we can crack through these last stages and we're finished. And give a good overview of how I want things to go for the job.
Yeah.
And generally that works pretty well, and I can just kind of turn my back and get into whatever it is I'm doing.
Now, sorry, continue.
No, you go.
I was just going to add to that, because I'm about to bring someone on just for 1 day a week initially. And because I feel like, as far as I go, I can be taking on more projects than I am. It's just a matter of, securing it and keeping on top of things. But my issue is that once I start taking on more projects, I will need someone that I can trust to do the projects without my input. And where I'm kind of coming from at this stage, at least, is I have my online sales of chopping boards, which go quite well. And I'm planning to increase that. And what I'm going to do initially is say, all right, well, this is your task. and I'll take them through the entire process of making an end grain chopping board and a laser cut chopping board and everything like that, because it will teach them the way that I expect to be worked in the workshop. So the way to mill the timber, how to glue it up, how to flatten it and sand it. And it's a simple project that doesn't matter if they stuff it up, but they can still batch out 10 in a day, and they're learning the processes of everything that kind of goes on in the workshop day to day.
You just said, sorry.
No.
You just said a really interesting thing, which is they could batch out 10 in a day. Now, you might be able to batch out 10 in a day because you love what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, but
and this is the biggest problem. And what's his name? Chris Vesper from Vesper Tools is, if you have a look at his Instagram, he's been trying to find a helper exactly in the same situation. He's been trying to find somebody who can do machining for him on a steel tooling. And probably for the better part of 3 months, he's been looking for somebody, and he can't find anyone with quality skills.
Right.
The problem is it's a mix of skills and passion. And then if you find somebody with the passion and the skills, they're almost always doing their own thing already, or they want to be paid the same as what you're getting paid, which does not work for a business. You might as well do it yourself. So having that quality staff person who you really want, in my experience, is just about possible to find.
Yeah, right.
So you almost always have to go to somebody who just wants a job, who is capable, which is fine, but the productivity goes down.
Yeah.
And so then there's an area of does this work?
Yeah, so it's that balance of finding someone that is going to have the passion about what they're doing, but not expect to be your actual partner.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can see how my little statement of having them come in and make chopping boards could be seen as what a shitty job that is. But it's not like this isn't just their job. It's just initially to get them going into it and hopefully see the quality come through.
Your description of that job is way more exciting than putting a cheeseburger together.
Oh, totally.
So
but maybe
there's levels and there's levels of excitements of jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, with any luck, I can find someone. But I won't hold my breath.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, because we kind of swung a little bit off topic, I think, but we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Shop Still podcast. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's what we do. We go off topic. It's like we get a topic and then say everything that is not to do with that topic.
It's something we could talk about, but we're not going to.
So when you've got multiple jobs to do in the workshop, it used to be that I would come in and say, right, I've got this task to do. I've got 20 dovetails to cut, and I'm going to sit down and cut these 20 dovetails, and then I'm going to move on to the next step, and then I can move on to the next step, and everything's going to be great. Now my approach is I've got 20 dovetails to cut by the end of the day. If I can get that done by the end of the day, and so I can sit down and cut 3 and then quickly go and sand a bench top and put some clear coat on it, and then I can come back and I can cut 2 more dovetails, and I can go back, and it's being willing to stop what you're doing and kind of change your brain to the other job, and getting that done. And I find having an end of the day goal is much better for productivity than having a linear kind of process by process goaling. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it certainly has helped me actually get stuff done.
Yeah, no, I work in the same way of end of day goal. So as long as this is done by the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter in which order you do it in.
Yeah,
as long as it's done. Like,
that's right.
I find it to also be a lot more productive to the way I work anyway. It doesn't always get done, but it's like close enough, or I slightly achieve what should be the next day, so it balances out. But generally, I stick to it pretty well. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
All right. Let's. We've got a few minutes left, so let's move on to some questions. Got one here from Hustle Smith Makes through Instagram. Podcast question. Can you guys define how much a pack of lumber would be? At my lumber yard, if I need to pick through something, it's normally just a random amount bought out on a bobcat. Also, if you just use inches, it would make more sense to me.
No.
I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, I guess this is the one woodworking podcast where they don't use inches.
You know what you can do is you can use Google, like the rest of the world, convert American stuff.
Or just times it by divide it by 24.5. What's
so Joey, how would you define a pack?
Well, a packet in my timber yard is anything that is strapped up as one bundle.
So it's not a defined size or volume.
They vary because the timber's sizes vary, and I think they have physical size limits, but that doesn't necessarily equate to the actual cubic volume of timber in that packet because of lengths and stuff. You can often have kind of voids in the middle of a packet because they've just kind of packed it square to stack, but actually it's got kind of bits missing inside internally. So generally a pack, I think, is about 4 cubes. That's like new.
So when you talk about cubes, you're talking about that's volume, right? Cubic meter.
Yeah.
Cubic meter, yeah.
So then, but you
about 4 meters long by 1 meter high and whatever that makes it, 1.5 meters wide.
But again, you're still going to be getting those voids. So it's not actually 4 cubic meters.
They measure every piece of lumber that goes in that stack.
Yeah.
And then that all gets added up, and that is what happens to be in that bundle of timber.
So that's often why pack rate is also often a bit cheaper than buying by the length as well, because you don't necessarily know what you're getting in that pack.
Yeah.
Like you might have in the middle of it, like you said, half of it's weighing. So it's like usable or it's not fully usable.
Yeah.
So my timber yard sometimes will pull down a whole pack for me that's strapped up, cut the straps, I'll pull out what I need. They will just deduct what I took from the tally the last tally they had, and that's the new size of that pack. They'll put straps back on it, and then they could sell it as a pack again with the new tally on it.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think my supplier will sell packs as little as 1 cubic meter. That's what they'll consider a pack, but it comes, exactly like you. Everything's different. Doesn't have a standardized volume.
All right, so the next question comes from a guy by the name of Robin Lewis up in Townsville. This is one of the joys of having this show, is that it's a perfect place to ask questions. So I've just bought myself a whole stack of weatherboards that, if you're watching live, that's what is behind me. It's about 100 lineal meters of weatherboards, pine-treated weatherboards. And on
in the States, that is siding. I believe they call it siding.
Yes, siding, yeah. So when I got it, it had a little docket about how it was treated with a solvent-based treatment.
Yep.
And they said, don't prime it until you've given that solvent enough time to, evaporate.
Gas off, yep.
Off gas, yeah.
Yep.
How long is that? Like, they don't tell you how long. They just say, sort of wait a while. Is the idea that you're supposed to install it, then paint it? Because in my mind, I want to paint the inside and everything, and then install it. No, it's not pre-primed.
So you have to seal the inside of the weatherboard.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to cut on you if you just paint one side. So generally, it's best to try and strip stack it a little bit and get a bit more airflow. But because it is such a heavy solvent, I forget the exact which one it is. I used to know it. It should only take about 3 or 4 days to off gas. You would probably actually almost be able to feel a dampness on the timber, and that will be the solvent.
So it's just heavier because, like, right now I'm almost flying in the clouds with all that.
Yeah, very strong. You smell it. That smell won't go away, so don't judge it by the smell.
Right. Okay. So the fact that it's not damp means that it's probably ready to go.
Yeah. because you just want to get rid of that solvent, so then something will stick to it. Otherwise, it's essentially like trying to paint over paint thinners, which is not going to work out so well.
Right. Okay. So it's not like I got the impression that you trapping those vapors in is going to be bad for the wood. That was the impression that I got.
It can be a problem in some timbers that the vapor comes out and then bubbles the paint from the inside. But I've only really heard of that happening on hardwoods, where the vapor takes a long time to come out through the denser fibers.
Yeah.
It probably very well could happen on weatherboards if it's really moist with the chemicals on there.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty cheapo pine, so I'm pretty sure it's certainly not dense enough to hold anything. I picked the first board up and did that whole and I just about launched it into the sky because I couldn't believe how light the thing was. It was like a wafer. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I hope that it's going to hold up. But yeah, okay. Well, that's fine because I want to start getting the paint onto this as soon as possible to try and reduce any movement.
It's going to move as soon as it's outside. So don't worry too much about that.
But that's fine. Once it's fixed in place, hopefully it won't.
You will actually find if you paint, so you might put it all up and paint it. It'd be really nice. In 6 months, all the boards will shrink, and you'll see that all the strips on the overlaps where the paint didn't get, and you'll probably have to repaint that in 6 months or a year. It will just shrink, so you can't stop that.
I was planning on painting all of the boards, all four sides, and then installing it.
Right, on doing all of the coats on them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you could do that. Yeah, sure.
Is that not the way you should? Is that not the way that
generally you just do a sealing coat on the back, on all four sides. You'd seal it, and then on the front side, after they're installed, you would do the three extra coats.
I thought you had to do all the coats, all two or three coats on all sides before it goes on.
I mean, that's certainly very good. Well, no one probably does it, and you'll probably have no issues with them then, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of paint, because you don't need to paint the back to look good. It just has to be sealed.
So one coat on the back, that's enough?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So do you guys have any videos that you want to mention in the?
I'm shameably going to say I have got nothing really because I just have not had time.
No, well, that's fine. Yeah, because we don't actually have any links on this video, so we'll leave it at that. But what I do want to do is I want to point out one article that I saw, and I've posted this on the Shop Stool podcast Facebook page. So if you are listening, head over to Facebook, search the Shop Stool podcast, and you can find the Facebook page. I've posted.
You better like it. Yeah.
I posted an article, and it's titled, "Is This a Bath for Joey?" It's a woodworker is basically making full bathtubs out of hardwood.
Right.
Marine grade varnish on it. This thing is beautiful.
Is he from South Africa?
NK Woodworking. Prices for the Lotus model pictured here start at $30,000.
Holy the jingles.
But
that's a bit much.
It's just amazing. Anyway, I thought of you with your wooden bathroom, Joey. This would fit in perfect.
Yeah, my production manager was talking to me about, I saw this cool article on Facebook about a wooden bath, and I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if that's my mate Joey. I was like, could do. He made a pretty nice one out of cedar.
I've had 3 serious offers on making those baths, and all of them I've said, look, I just can't. I don't know what it's going to be like in 5 years.
Yeah, you can't guarantee that. I've
only been using it for not even a year, and one guy actually wanted 2 out of walnut.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, it sounds like a nice job. I wouldn't mind taking your money off you. If this thing splits in half, I just can't do that. So you've got to give me a couple of years of use before anything happens. Yeah. So.
I wonder if you could spin it with a fiberglass, or got that extra safety.
Definitely, I think inside of it should have been fiberglassed, and then you can just be rough as you like.
Should have, or do you think you could get away without it?
beneficial.
I've got away without it, but I think it doesn't take. You can have a very small crack is going to let water out. With fiberglass, and it's just going to lock the whole thing together. And even if the timber manages to crack or a void opens up, that fiberglass, in theory, will kind of bridge it.
Skin.
Yeah.
And the fiberglass it's obviously clear, but can you get a pretty high gloss finish, a clear, crystal clear finish on it?
Yeah, you can. And that was kind of the problem, and it's probably a whole subject in itself. My thinking at the time was that you needed to have a mold. You have a glossy kind of mold, and then your fiberglass over that. And when you pull everything off the mold, you're left with a perfect glassy finish. Then that would have been to make an upside down kind of inverse bath mold. And I wanted it to be free form, and I had no idea what it was actually going to end up like. So I've been since found out that I could have done it just by laying fiberglass inside and sanding it back and doing some process. Yeah,
they're not that bad. You should check out my video of how to fiberglass a paddle.
Yeah, because you did that. That's that's what I was thinking back to. Looking at the website, each is then finished with a specialized clear composite barrier for unmatched durability and longevity. So yes, there must be some kind of thing going on.
What he's saying there is fiberglass.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I guess a few years ago, the idea of a wooden bath was just like, well, that's just ridiculous. Who would do that? Slowly but surely, more people are going to start doing this. We're all talking about it, and I wonder if that mentality of you can't do it is just going to fall away.
There's at least one guy in the States and one guy, I believe, in Ireland.
This guy was in Seattle.
Right. So, I mean, they have been around for a while.
Cool. All right.
Have you seen the one? Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, John. Go for it.
I was just going to say, have you seen the bath that is carved out of a full log?
Not out of a log.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'll have to find it and put it in the next week's show because it is just stunning.
Is it just sitting out in the woods then?
No, it's in someone's bathroom with massive slate tiles. And it just looks amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, so if you want to see this bath that we're talking about, head over to the Shop Stool Podcast Facebook page and you can find it there. Other than that, anything else from you guys before we wrap it up?
Nope.
No, I'm just looking forward to getting back to my workshop.
I ask this question every week, hopeful that there's just going to be some just burst of creativity, but it's fun. Well, I'll keep trying.
Next week, I promise.
Just giving all of my effort out there.
So just one more push again about we're doing a talk at the Marlini Wood Expo on the 5th of May. We're going to be doing a talk at about 12:30, and then later that evening we'll be heading down to Brisbane to the Fox Hotel to do a bit of a maker meetup. Anyone who's interested can come along and have a beer with us. We'd really appreciate seeing you guys. And Jordan has just let out we might talk about this later.
No, I just remembered I have got an announcement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So after the Mullaney Wood Show, the following weekend in Perth, I'm going to be at the Perth Wood School. So come down and say hello for their open day. It is the 9th, I believe, of April.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. So if you're in Perth and you can't make it to that meetup, cool.
Jordan will put on basically all three of our personalities. So
sweet.
That'll work. Yeah, that's cool. Cuffy, are you shouting the beers? Depending how many people we were, you know what? I actually will. If we have a few people, I will shout a beer or two.
Big cool.
There's some really cheap beers down in Brisbane, so that may not be to your advantage.
Your Melbourne bitters.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks very much for tuning in. As always, my name is Robin Lewis from Robin Lewis Makes, joined by Joey Chalk from King Post Timberworks and John Crawford from Periodic Furniture Studio. Thanks very much for everyone joining in the chat. It's always good to see you guys, and thanks for listening if you were on iTunes. We'll talk to you all again, same time, same place next week.
See ya.
Yeah.